What's up, everyone? In my first video, I described the importance of characters and using them to drive stories forward. With that much focus on a character, making them believable and follow some kind of internally justified logic is important. There are a lot of guides that help you create characters, but for me, I like to understand the underlying purpose of a character before trying to find or create my own. Trying to retrofit something without knowing the purpose of the guide creates disorder because you don't understand the rationale behind that order. So, what is the purpose of a character? Characters fitting into a world they live in is one of the first crucial pieces, because creating a character that doesn't match the themes of the world produces this clash that consumers of the medium will recognize and more than likely dissociate from the world because of it. Think Mario in a world like Max Payne. It might be funny to see a character like Mario trying to get revenge for his murdered wife, or Max Payne trying to save Princess Peach from Bowser, but you clearly see the disconnect. Once the character fits into the world, there needs to be something driving the character to change. A satisfied character isn't someone worth focusing on because there isn't anything to change internally or externally, which is why having clearly defined goals that are tied to what the character wants to change, as well as the way the character thinks, is crucial. So, let's define the tools. Now that we know what we want, we need tools designed to tie the character into the world and clearly state how the character thinks about the world. These two aspects tell us how the character is going to act based on what they are thinking. Looking into the TTRPG space, a system that accomplishes this for me was pulled from the Burning Wheel, that being beliefs, instincts, traits. Something interesting I noticed about these tools is that they focus on the interactions between the world and the character. Beliefs are what the character thinks about the world and what the character wants to do in the world. Instincts are what the world has done to the character, and traits are what the world thinks about the character. These three tools describe a dialectic between these two entities, opposing forces that influence one another simply by interacting. Let's dive into each one further to see how they work to breathe life into the character as well as the world. Beliefs are an important enough idea a character thinks is true about the world to invoke an action. Clearly defining what the character finds important allows you to target them through challenges in the world. These beliefs are not static either. All characters are different, and how deeply they hold on to their beliefs is what gets tested through these challenges. Beliefs are there to showcase what aspects of the story you want to explore, opening the world to push back on what the character is trying to accomplish. Moving away from an abstract concept, I'll give you a few examples. The starter examples fall into 6 different categories, the first being secret. As technology brainwashed my sister into being a sacrifice for their blood magic, I will scour the world for magic knowledge and power in order to destroy all traces of blood magic. For those that don't know, this is lore from Shadowrun. With a belief like this, let's see what it accomplishes in 2 sentences. We have a company that is a catalyst for the character. The world has magic, and the character is discriminatory towards a certain type of magic, that being blood. And a reason to keep it a secret from others is because his sister is no longer alive. There are 2 things the character hates: a clear goal and a reason to accomplish it. You can challenge the belief by revealing to the character that there was a reason for Aztechnology to sacrifice their sister, or the character runs into someone using blood magic that isn't as sinister as others. Next up, important objects and artifacts. I found a hard drive that seems to have something of value because of the heavy encryption. I will find someone skilled enough to extract this data. This is a belief I'm using in one of my stories I haven't released yet. Compared to the first belief, there's less to work with, but there is a few things that it accomplishes. It shows the character isn't technically inclined, and we are in a modern setting. The character doesn't know what's in the hard drive, but maybe they know who it's from. One obstacle that could test the character's resolve is when the character finds this skilled person, they might not want to help. Or they do help, but take a look at the data inside and have a head start acting on the information inside. Important non-player character and interest in a player character. The distinction between NPC and PC are mostly for games, so for my goals, I'm grouping these two categories together. So let's read them. Tessa Frizzle has a death wish. To cure her reckless behavior, I will show her safer activities next time we visit. Tombstone is big, but I think he has a soft side under all the rubble. With my charm, I will get him to open up for me. Your character having an opinion of another character is one thing. With the attached goal in a belief, they have a reason to be around them. With Tessa, we might find out why she has a death wish, or maybe it is a misunderstanding from the character. With Tombstone, he seems like someone that isn't easy to have a heart-to-heart with. Our character might try to pay more attention to Tombstone and see what he's interested in, or it could turn into something more romantic. Next up is character progression. After my dad died, Eris took his favorite pistol. I need to find leads to get my dad's pistol back to its rightful owner, myself. With this belief, we have Eris that either is close enough to the character's dad that he gave Eris his gun, or he stole it. Additionally, it shapes the character in two ways, sentimental or selfish. The belief could be written more clearly once you have a better feel for the character, but it is a good start to their journey. Last one, character philosophy. The world is nothing more than a sandbox filled with obstacles known as people. It is all mine, and I won't stop until I purify this sand into beautiful glass. These types of beliefs are always fun to play around with because rather than influence a single action, it colors the way the character interacts with everything. Obviously, a character with this belief would be more selfish because they treat people like obstacles and the world like their sandbox. Additionally, it is a self-justifying belief because the end part being about purifying the sandbox. When thinking about how Casey Protus would act, I've written a character philosophy style belief. For me personally, I never view things in good-bad dynamics, but rather actors with opposing beliefs trying to change the world they live in, which is why beliefs fit so well with my philosophy of storytelling. Let's move on to instincts. Instincts are an unconscious action a character takes in reaction to stimulus. If you think about beliefs as a tool to move the character forward, instincts are the past brought forward. Instincts come with additional baggage attached to them. They tell us about the character's past and how it is reflected in the instincts that they develop. They need to be simple, but consider them actions that were either trained into the character, a life lesson the character has learned, or something that was necessary to survive. It is suggested that the shape of an instinct is condition, action, and the four types are of the following. If, condition, then do action. Example, if I ever find myself outnumbered, then run away. In all likelihood, the character with this instinct learned this lesson the hard way. Maybe they found themselves against one person and thought that it was going to be an easy fight. It eventually turned into 2v1 and it was a bit hairier, but they thought they could kite them around and win. However, once it was 3v1, it became too much to simply run and they got knocked out. Always do action. Always check my corners on entering an unfamiliar space. An instinct that could have been trained into them in an organized militant group. The character might get uneasy when entering a new space and need to clear the space before feeling relaxed. Never do action. Never let a boast go unchallenged. A less intense instinct because this is more social. I would say that this character felt like in order to not feel small or beneath someone, it was easier to challenge a boast. Their character group could have encouraged this kind of behavior, so it became something buried in their subconscious. When, condition, do action. When meeting a new person, make them feel welcome. Another less consequential instinct, but it could have been the result of never feeling welcome in groups. The character's desire to not have anyone else experience that kind of feeling motivated them to welcome newcomers into the fold. The last tool is more difficult to integrate because it's more tied to the game mechanics of the burning wheel. However, the logic for why it exists makes sense to me. Traits. A notable quality for a character that others will notice and point out. Just as characters reflect on the world before them, the world also has opinions on the character in the world. Traits are descriptive. When your character has the trait stubborn, It is both more difficult to convince them of something and easier for them to convince others. A stubborn character isn't going to give up one of their beliefs because they failed once. They get back up and try again twice as hard. A room reader might be really charming when a group is warm to the character, or they know when it is a good time to approach a group that they want to haggle with. And on the opposite end, when the group turns sour on the character, it would be a detriment for the character to try to persuade them. Situations could swing dramatically for them if they have poor social skills and are hyper aware of what the room's social atmosphere feels like. And that's that. I hope my explanation for these tools was helpful for someone. There's still more to a character than these tools, because for me, I need to get a feel for the character by writing a few scenes, using them before I fully understand how their personality will change the story overall. It isn't a perfect solution, but it is a nice starting point for myself to focus on what I want to get out of a character. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video.